Hello everyone, welcome to another English class. Today we are going to learn about writing a sentence. Okay, so this is the first part about writing. Yeah, so I'm going to go over with some writing basics. Okay, so writing has a particular purpose for a particular audience or a particular reader. Of course, uh, there are many purposes of writing. For example, you can write an essay that you have to do for your teacher, or what we call academic writing. You can write an article if you are into journalism. If you are in public relations, for example, you may have to write press releases or write company profiles. If you work in advertising, you have to write a copy, maybe a social media post or a script for an advertisement. So there are many purposes of writing. Okay, so as communication students, you need to be able to write, or even simple things such as writing a letter, uh, filling out a form. There may be times that you have to do writing in English. So writing requires certain skills. Okay, the first is sentence structure. That means how to arrange words in a sentence. The second one is organization, which is how to arrange the ideas into a paragraph. And of course, you will have to know a little about grammar, such as tenses. We covered before what tenses we should use if we want to write a press release, if we want to write a journalism article, if we want to write a report. Yeah, we went over that a few weeks ago. Yeah, so you have to know the parts of speech. Yes, what such as is this word a verb, a noun, an adverb, and so forth. And of course, punctuation. Yeah, so using the question mark, the exclamation mark, the question mark, yeah, apostrophe, the comma, and the full stop. Okay. Okay, so in this lesson, we're just going to focus on two things, which is sentence structure and organization. Okay, because we already learned about grammar, yeah, and I think you already know how to punctuate sentences correctly. So we're not going to do that. Okay. Okay. So basically, when we are writing, what we're doing is we use letters to form words. So we have capital letters and we have small letters. And these letters, we combine them together and we can make words out of them. And from words, we turn them into sentences. Yeah, so this first sentence, I am a student, consists of 4 words. I am a and student. And then when writing, we combine these sentences into what we call a paragraph. Okay, a paragraph which usually has an indent, yeah, and some more than one sentences together. Okay, so a paragraph is the minimum of writing about the topic. Of course, you can make more than one paragraph if you are writing a longer piece, yeah, but for one topic, usually one paragraph is the minimum requirement. Okay, let's move on to sentence structure and mechanics. So, okay, I think you can see this clearly now. Yeah, so what is a sentence? So a sentence is a group of words that expresses a thought or an idea and is complete in itself. So a sentence usually starts with a capital letter and ending with a full stop or an exclamation mark. Okay, so full stop is this, yeah, titik. Question mark, that means the tanda tanya, yeah, exclamation mark is tanda seru, okay? So now we know what's a sentence, but what is in a sentence? So the words in a sentence are consisting of a subject and a verb, okay? And sometimes an object is necessary to make the sentence a complete thought or a complete idea. For example, I have 4 sentences here. The first 2 are full sentences or complete sentences, and the other 2 are not sentences. Why? They all have, the first one has a subject and a verb. The baby drinks the milk. The baby is the subject, drinks is the verb, and the milk, this is the object, right? So I didn't write this down, but the milk is the object. So this is a correct sentence, right? Because it has a subject and a verb. The second one is the baby cried. Okay, so this doesn't have an object, but even though it only has a subject and a verb, it is still a complete sentence. So it doesn't need an object to explain the crying. The next one, the baby sleepy. So this is not a complete sentence because it doesn't have a verb. So it only has a subject, and sleepy is an adjective. Okay, so this is not a subject verb, this is an adjective. So what do we do to make this a complete sentence? Of course, we add the verb. We change it to the baby is sleepy. Okay, so is here is our verb, right? Okay, the last sentence, the baby needs. So this is not a correct sentence, even though it has a subject and a verb. Why? Because some verbs need an object. So the correct sentence for this one, if we make the correct one, would be the baby needs what? Needs his mother. Okay, so this way it becomes a complete sentence. So his mother in this case is our object. Okay, so sometimes the sentence can have an object such as the milk or his mother, but sometimes it doesn't have an object such as the baby cries. Even though if we just make the baby drinks, right, and we don't write the milk in here, yeah, it will still be a correct sentence. But if you just say the baby, the milk, of course, that's not correct because there's no verb here. Okay? All right, so let's move on to the next part. So what does a sentence look like? So sentences can be a statement or a question. Okay, I think this one's quite easy. So you know, a statement end with a full stop. Yeah, statement pernyataan, question pertanyaan. So pertanyaan always has the question mark. Okay, so the rules are: use a capital letter for the first word in a sentence, and then put a period after a statement, and put a question mark after a question. So this one's pretty clear. I think you already learned this because it's the same rules in Bahasa Indonesia as well, right? So you already learned this in school. Okay, the next one, types of sentences. We have the simple sentence, the complex sentence, and the compound sentence. Okay, for simple sentences, we have the declarative sentence, which is the most common type of sentence, where it ends with a full stop. For example, the sky is blue. Okay, so it only has one idea and it ends with a full stop. The next is interrogative sentence. So this is a question. Interrogative means a question. Example, why is the sky blue? The next one, exclamatory sentence. Exclamatory means seruan, right? The sky is blue now. So this one, kalimat seruan, always has the exclamation mark. And the last one is imperative sentence. Okay, kalimat perintah. Usually it has the question exclamation mark as well, right? And then we have the complex sentence, yeah, and the compound sentence. In Bahasa, the complex and compound sentences, we call them as kalimat majemuk, right? So complex sentence is kalimat majemuk setara, where the two clauses have the same level. Yeah, compound sentence in Indonesian is kalimat majemuk bertingkat. Okay, where we have the independent clause and the dependent clause. We'll learn more about that later. Okay, we move on to sentence patterns. The most common sentence patterns that writers use is the subject, verb, object. This is how beginners write. Okay, this is how we start to write. We start with the subject, the boy, and then we continue with the verb, ate, and we continue with the object, pizza. I study English. Lockdown is boring. Okay, so this is how beginners write. But of course, if you read a piece of writing that consists of all this kind of pattern, all the same pattern, it will become very boring to read. Okay, so to make the sentences interesting, we can turn it into other forms. Okay, for example, the sentence is the boy ate pizza. We can turn it into a question. Why did the boy eat pizza? We can turn it into a passive sentence. The pizza was devoured by the boy. So I changed the word eat to devoured because it sounds better than the pizza was eaten by the boy, but it means the same. And then turn it into an exclamatory sentence. The boy ate pizza again. We combine it with another sentence. The boy ate the pizza and then ran outside to play. Or we can use a transitional phrase. Even though the boy ate the pizza, you could tell that he wanted to be outside playing. Or you can start with a participle. eating the pizza, the boy watched his friends playing outside. So these are more interesting sentences, and the reader will be more interested in your writing rather than just writing your whole piece or your whole paragraph in this subject, verb, object pattern. Okay, so another thing that you can do to make your paragraph or your writing more interesting is to play with sentence length. So avoid using sentences that are all the same length. Short sentences are powerful, but combine short sentences with long sentences to make your writing flow more naturally. Okay, so using short sentences, it's not natural. Yeah, it doesn't sound very natural in English. So your most important sentences should be clear and concise. You can keep them short. Descriptive sentences can have more length, but you should read them aloud to make sure that they flow naturally. Okay, so let's see this example. The boy's mother called him inside for dinner. The boy ate his pizza. He was very hungry. He didn't want to eat though. He wanted to play outside with his friends. Now, let's make this paragraph more interesting. The boy's mother called him inside for dinner. It was pizza. Even though the boy was hungry and pizza was his favorite meal, he wanted to stay outside and play. He wolfed the pizza down and ran back outside. Okay, so this is a more interesting, the second one is more interesting to read than the first one. So the first one sounds very flat. It doesn't sound very natural. Okay, so that's what you can do. So you can play with the sentence pattern and play with the sentence length to make your paragraph more interesting. Okay, so when you are making the sentence longer, you probably use the compound or complex sentences. Okay, so the compound sentences, yeah, is two simple sentences connected by a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So that means we have one simple sentence, right? We have, okay, so we have a simple sentence, and then we have another simple sentence, and in the middle, we have the coordinating conjunction. Okay, so for example, the first simple sentence is my family goes camping every summer. And then the second one, we usually have fun. And we connect these sentences with and. Okay, so my family goes camping every summer and we usually have fun. Okay, or you can use but or so. Okay, so these are all examples of what we call coordinating conjunctions. Okay, so compound sentences, as I've said, ya, in bahasa it means kalimat majemuk setara. Ya, jadi satu clause, ya, klausa yang ini dan klausa yang satunya itu dia setara kedudukannya, ya, dan dihubungkan dengan kata-kata seperti and, but, or, and so. Okay, so the next one is complex sentences. Right? So complex sentences is what we call kalimat majemuk bertingkat. That means there's one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. Okay? Jadi ada kalimat utamanya yang independent, ya, dan yang bergantung padanya yaitu dependent. Okay? So when the dependent clause begins with an adverb subordinator, so the conjunction for complex sentence we call subordinator. The clauses can usually be in any order. For example, we ran for shelter as soon as it started to rain. So this is our subordinator, right? As soon as. If the independent clause is first, don't use a comma. Okay, so here this is our independent clause. Okay, we ran for shelter. But if the independent clause as after the dependent clause, put a comma after it. Okay, so because this one is the dependent clause is first, and then we put a comma, right? So an independent clause has one subject-verb pair and expresses a complete thought. In other words, independent clause is just a simple sentence, okay? A dependent clause, on the other hand, is an independent clause with a subordinating word. Okay, so when it has the words because, after, or other subordinating words, it becomes a dependent clause. So one thing to note, a dependent clause does not express a complete thought. So it is not a sentence by itself. Okay, so this is important for you to know. Yeah, so a dependent clause is not a sentence. It is only half of a sentence. Okay, for example, if you want to just say, after we finish homework, and then full stop. Okay, or because it has excellent art museums, full stop. Okay, so this is not a complete sentence. You have to add, art students should visit Paris because it has excellent art museums. Then it becomes a complete sentence. Okay, so that's one thing that you should take note of. Okay, so here's some words for conjunctions that you can use if you are making compound or complex sentences. Yeah, so for compound sentences, the coordinating conjunctions are, so you can make the acronym fanboys, right? For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And the subordinating conjunctions, there's although, because, now that, when, and so forth. Okay, so you can use these words when you are trying to join two sentences together to make, for example, if you want to make the paragraph more interesting. Okay, so that's it on sentence mechanics, and we're going to have an exercise before we move on to writing a paragraph. Okay, so thank you for participating. I hope you learned something today and it will be useful for you. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.